So annually, the Academy of Management presents several awards in recognition of outstanding contributions and professional accomplishments and distinguished service. The All Academy Awards presented during the course of this year's meeting will include the Most Outstanding Article of 2012 for AMJ, AMR, AMLE, and AMP, as well as program awards, including the Newman Award for Best Papers based on a dissertation and the Carolyn Dexter Award for Best International Paper. Those awards will be announced at various meetings over the course of the next couple of days. But this morning, Karen Golden-Biddle, Chair of the Career Achievement Awards, will join us to present 4 Distinguished Lifetime Achievement Awards, and then Anne-Marie Knott will follow her to present the Academy's George R. Terry Book Award. Please join me in welcoming Karen Golden-Biddle.
We're going to keep moving forward here. I got it. Thank you. Somebody's doing the slides for me. Appreciate that. These awards recognize long-term excellence over one's career in the areas of education, service, scholar practice, integration, and scholarship. I first would like to thank the members of the committee who graciously agreed to serve and reviewed and had to distinguish among many outstanding nominations this year. Robin Ely from Harvard Business School, Christine Oliver, York University, Nandini Rajagopalan from University of Southern California, and Carl Weick from the University of Michigan. The Distinguished Educator Award. This year's recipient, his contributions to management education are significant and numerous, and especially noteworthy because they span across all the criteria that you see designated for this award: doctoral students, teaching effectively, pedagogical innovation, and developing effective methods, structures, and design. It's my pleasure to announce that R. Edward Freeman is the 2013 recipient of the Distinguished Educator Award. Ed Freeman is university professor and Ellis and Signe Olson Professor of Business Administration at the University of Virginia Darden School. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree from Duke University and Doctor of Philosophy in Philosophy from Washington University. He's also held faculty positions at the University of Minnesota and the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School. He's a fellow of the International Association of Business and Society. Ed's letters of nomination speak specifically, enthusiastically, and with great warmth about his teaching and mentoring of doctoral students, as well as students across MBA and executive cohorts. They describe Ed as a master teacher who's an invaluable mentor with profound impact on students. A couple of interesting specifics we found in the committee. He's received the All-University Teaching Award at the University of Virginia, as well as teaching awards at his 2 previous institutions. The MBA students at Darden regularly use, evidently, all their bid points to secure a spot in Ed's elective course. And he regularly presents at the Academy of Management in the doctoral consortium, including this year in social issues and management. In addition to teaching classes, Ed designed the first course in business and ethics taught at Darden. He also developed elective courses, including a groundbreaking leadership and theater course in which students collaboratively write and perform plays, and a course named Creative Capitalism that focuses on ways businesses can profitably improve society. Perhaps most interesting to us on the committee is Ed's new offering of a MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, due to launch next month. Called New Models of Business and Society, this course already has more than 10,000 registrants. Ed's articulation of stakeholder theory and ethics is having broad and sustained impact on the conversations in business and in business education. Developed in now more than 100 articles, edited book series, and special journal issues and books, these ideas have been integrated into his and others' teaching of MBA students and executives. 2 of Ed's nomination letters pointed to his landmark book, Strategic Management, A Stakeholder Approach, as having significant, particularly significant and wide-reaching impact, deeply influencing these conversations. They shared, over the past 3 decades since its publication, the view that corporations have pluralistic stakeholders has now become commonplace in management research and management textbooks. This book has sparked widespread academic and practitioner interest in ideas about stakeholders. In sum, Ed is a master teacher whose impact has been profound for students and colleagues, for curricular innovation, for mentorship, and for shaping an entire generation of future leaders. Congratulations, Ed, for this well-deserved recognition. The Distinguished Scholar Practitioner Award. This recipient was described as working creatively and with impact on both sides of the theory-practice equation and at the intersection. It's my pleasure to announce that Philip H. Mervis is the 2013 recipient of the Distinguished Scholar Practitioner Award. Phil earned a Bachelor of Arts from Yale University and a Master's of Arts and a Doctor of Philosophy in Organizational Psychology from the University of Michigan. He's been on the faculty of the School of Management at Boston University and held research positions at the Center for Corporate Citizenship at Boston College and the Institute of Social Research at the University of Michigan. He has or currently serves as visiting lecturer at universities across the globe. Phil's scholarly and practice work are interdependent, each richly informing the other. He works in the broad areas of large-scale and organizational change, mergers and acquisitions, leadership development, and the role of business in society. And in each, Phil generates scholarly contributions with an emphasis on implications for practice and puts theory into action through consultation with executive teams and leadership. The nomination letters describe this rich scholar-practice interface. While Phil could have comfortably stayed an academic, he chose a different path, one of a scholar practitioner, and went about attempting to impact organizations through sound theory and research principles. He has a rare gift, says another. He's one of the few people who is comfortable in a classroom as he is in a boardroom. He knows how to work with and speak to practice. In scholarship, Phil has written or edited 11 books, has published more than 100 articles and book chapters, including academic articles appearing in Administrative Science Quarterly, the Journal of Applied Psychology, Academy of Management, as well as writing for the world of business in Harvard Business Review, California Management Review, and much more. His co-authored paper on employee participation in a Quality Circle program, published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, received the OB's Division Award for Scholarly Contribution to OB. His recent paper in Academy of Management Learning and Education on executive development through conscious raising experiences received the Best Paper Award. In practice, Phil was a pioneer in researching, practicing, and writing about the role of business in society through his early experiences with Ben & Jerry's and later Royal Dutch Shell. His vita today, taking a look, shows that Phil has roots that are deep and wide in the world of practice, having worked with several CEOs, boards, chief technology officers, and government agencies across the world, while remaining strongly embedded in the academic tradition. Phil also has written about the scholar-practitioner interface, including, and I just include a couple of titles, Managing Research Whilst Researching Managers, Academic Practitioner Learning Forums, a new model for interorganizational research, and a recent co-authored chapter, Rigor and Relevance in Organizational Research, Experiences, Reflections, and a Look Ahead. In reviewing Phil's nomination, the review committee noted the tremendous variety, originality, and depth of his projects, and his large number of successes using unconventional interventions. In addition, we found his expert navigation of this role very impressive, especially for its global reach and for the fact that much of Phil's contribution was produced away from academic tenure tracks while still maintaining high credibility with full-time tenure track academics. Congratulations, Phil, on this well-deserved contribution. Distinguished Service Award. I'm just going to move right to it. Here's the award criteria. And this year, every single one of these award recipients worked all the criteria across for the award. It's not that they were in one criterion only, they were able to achieve in all. It's my pleasure to announce that James P. Walsh is the 2013 recipient of the Distinguished Service Award. Jim Walsh is the Arthur F. Turnow Professor and the Gerald and Esther Carey Professor of Management at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. He earned a Bachelor of Arts at SUNY Albany, Masters of Arts degrees at Columbia University and the University of Chicago, and his Doctor of Philosophy at Northwestern University. He's also been on the faculty of the Tuck School at Dartmouth, and he's a Fellow of the Academy of Management. For the past 25 years, Jim has provided important, creative, and tireless service to the Academy of Management. He was an early champion of, and when established, served in leadership positions for the Managerial and Organization Cognition, at the time Interest Group. Soon after, he was elected program chair of the Organization and Management Theory Division, serving in leadership positions, including division chair. In 2006, Jim was elected to the executive leadership positions of the Academy, serving as vice president-elect, vice president, president, and then past president through 2011. Not resting at that point, during this time he became founding co-editor of the Academy of Management Annals that provided management scholars an important outlet for longer theoretical papers and synthesis for existing literatures. In addition to getting approval for the journal by the Academy Board, he co-managed the first 5 years of the journal, establishing it as a major outlet for management knowledge. After his service as Academy president ended, Jim organized the Academy's first ever Africa initiative. This involved 2 week-long faculty development workshops held in Uganda and Rwanda for early career African scholars to participate in research capacity building work. Jim led these workshops along with faculty colleagues in Africa. Those involved in these workshops described in their letter the exemplary, humble manner in which Jim engaged these young scholars. Quote, "He was never a highfalutin top management scholar, but always simply Jim. This may not sound like a big deal, but Jim spent hours reading the research of the participants and providing them with feedback and encouragement. For many, it was the first time they were able to get such high-level feedback for their work." As part of this initiative, Jim also championed and organized the 4-day Academy Africa Academic Conference this year, which attracted 300 scholars from around the globe, preceded by a 1-day doctoral workshop. Jim's leadership in this conference led those involved to write, quote, "Without the extraordinary service and leadership of Jim Walsh, the Africa Academy of Management would not have made the transformation from a small group of management scholars meeting informally at Academy meetings to a budding formal association." In addition to his substantial service contributions, what stands out in the letters for the committee was his generosity and the numerous ways that Jim has gone out of his way to reach the scholars around the world. These hallmarks of his leadership service are an inspiration to many. As one person shared in a letter, "I will leave it to others to list Jim's enormous contributions to our field and the Academy. I would like to add a personal note. From my point of view, Jim's major service has been to inspire. He lifts the aspirations of everyone he comes in contact with." Congratulations, Jim, for this recognition. I'll tell you, this committee is the best committee to be part of, so if you're ever asked, do it. You see such great things about the Academy people. And finally, the Distinguished Award for Scholarly Contributions to Management. So you see the 3 criteria. Once again, the recipient has met all 3, exceeded. It's my pleasure to announce that Michael Tushman is the 2013 recipient of the Distinguished Award for Scholarly Contributions to Management. Mike Twishman is the Paul Lawrence MBA class of 1942 professor of business administration at Harvard Business School. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Northeastern University, his Master's of Science from Cornell, and his Doctor of Philosophy from MIT. He's also been on the faculty of Columbia University's Business School. He's a Fellow of the Academy of Management. Mike is an eminent scholar who made noteworthy, distinctive, sustained, and highly recognized contributions to how management researchers understand central questions about change, leadership, innovation, and design. He's published more than 100 articles, books, and chapters that have been collectively cited more than 34,000 times. He's been honored as Distinguished Scholar of 2 Academy divisions, Organization and Management Theory, and Technology and Innovation Management. He has published award-winning academic papers, including awards from the Academy of Management Review and the Stefan Schrader Award for his paper in Research and Organization Behavior. Most recently, he was awarded the Sumantra Ghoshal Award for Rigor and Relevance in the Study of Management from London Business School. From his early work on boundary roles and gatekeeping, continuing through collaborative work with his doctoral students on technological discontinuities and change across multiple levels, punctuated equilibria, and his latest work on networks, open innovation, and organizational boundaries, Mike has worked on critically important research questions that have a distinctive and integrative core. He is passionate and systematic in his investigation of how technological change affects organization performance and survival, and more generally, how organization design and innovation are achieved and contribute to organizational effectiveness over time. As one letter noted, quote, Mike has had the tenacity and creativity to create conceptual insights and empirical studies that have lasting impact. What is also striking about Mike's work is that his contribution to scholarship also extends to practice, as evidenced in his practice-oriented articles and books. 2 papers on organizational ambidexterity received the California Management Review's Accenture Best Paper Award. The impact on practice is also evidenced in the use of his insights and findings from research, for example, congruence model, ambidexterity in basic organization behavior courses for MBA students, as well as in doctoral courses in organization theory. The nomination letters noted, Mike stands out as an example of someone whose research meets the test of external validity. To me, Mike Twishman is the contemporary exemplar of a scholar who attains the highest possible scholarship and demonstrates policy and practice impact. A notable feature of Mike's scholarship, expressed in all letters, is his commitment to mentoring the next generation of young scholars. He is well known and highly respected as a wonderful colleague who is supportive and generous, investing substantially in others, including the training of his doctoral students. As one letter writer commented, and it's a perfect summation of this, when it comes to scholarly contributions, Mike Twishman characterizes the perfect trifecta of scholarship. He's produced a long line of highly influential published works. His research has affected both scholars and practicing managers, and he has brought along a large cadre of doctoral students, many of whom I know are here, who are highly active researchers and successful academics in their own right. Congratulations, Mike, on this well-deserved.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. It's also a pleasure to have been the chair of the Terry Book Award Committee. I had 2 distinct honors. Well, first was that I was able to read a number of wonderful books, 50 in fact, outside my comfort zone, which is always very good for me. And the second honor was that I was able to pick my committee. And I'd like to tell you how extraordinary they are, and I'd also like to thank them for their participation. Christine Beckman, represented OB and OT. She's at UC Irvine. Emilio Castilla represented sociology and human resources at MIT. David Kirsch was kind of our utility player. He covered economic history, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And Jerry McDermott took on political science as well as global management. So our charge was to pick books from a set who had been published within the last 2 years, had been judged to make the most outstanding contribution to the advancement of management knowledge, and whose contribution can be, well, their contribution could be either to theory or to practice. So we culled through a number of books, very interesting and important books, a marvelous set. But what we did to distinguish who our finalists were is we also imposed impact and rigor as the most significant criteria above doing cool and interesting stuff. The finalists this year, first, these are all in alphabetical order, is Ron Adner's book, Wide Lens. Ron tackles the question, why do we sometimes see superior technologies not winning in the marketplace? We've seen answers to that in the past. He has a very new and interesting argument that's very compelling and very rigorous, that of complements in the ecosystem. The second book, Don Palmer, takes on the question that's very interesting to all of us these days, is why do we see organizations doing wrong things? The typical answer is that we have bad apples. What he does is he presents an alternative sociological perspective that has to do with organizations and their structures and conduct. The third book, Victor Ney and Sonia Oper, Capitalism from Below, looks at the Chinese phenomenon. How were they so dramatically successful following communism when we see the Eastern European experiment, which was aided by all kinds of very prominent economists, seems to have faltered? Okay, and they have very interesting answer, which is entrepreneurship. And what's nice about that is that's going to help people understand the question of how do we create these entrepreneurial milieus. Noam Wasserman's book, The Founder's Dilemma, tackles the problem that most businesses fail. Okay? A lot of that is structural. The market's just not there. The technology is not there. And he tackles the part that's actually fixable. And a very well-researched book, he identifies the things that you can actually fix and provides some solutions to how to actually fix them. And finally, the last book in alphabetical order is Patricia Thornton, Willie Ocasio, and Michael Lounsbury's book, The Institutional Logics Perspective. Those of you that are familiar with institutional theory remember that here we are at the Academy. That's somewhat frustrating because institutional theory says there's no role for managers. And they take on a new view of that theory and introduce the purposeful actors. And they lay the foundations for that new theory. So the winner is The Institutional Logics Perspective. And the winner is Capitalism from Below.
Thank you, Karen and Anne-Marie, and thank you to these exemplary scholars whose names have been up on a screen for these last few minutes. These are really truly inspiring colleagues.